Okay, Michelle, we left that one hanging there. I don't quite know how
Dramatic
to ask you
pause.
this, but come on, talk a bit more about abortion. I know you're not pro-abortion. That
That's a good
goes
clarification. That's a good place to start.
that goes without saying. But I think you're probably like me. You don't just say, let's sort it all out legally, let's forbid this, and then we've got a
Mhm.
nice a clean world out there.
Mhm.
Okay, over to you. Unpack.
If you take that we're going to sort it out legally and make everything this clean world out there, you've got The Handmaid's Tale. So it's
Yeah.
just not, yeah,
Okay.
not the way that things actually get solved um in a healthy society, I don't think. But let's talk a little bit more. First off, I want to jump on the point that you opened up on, and that is to clarify for anybody who might be going, "Oh my gosh, what happened to this girl?"
Yeah.
Um, like, I am not pro-abortion.
Yeah.
Not in a million billion years am I pro-abortion. However, um, I am pro-life not as a political choice, but as an ideological choice. And I am pro life. And the reason I say it's not a political choice, it's an ideological one, is because for me to genuinely be pro life, it means you have a consistent ethic of life. It means I'm pro the life of the unborn, I'm pro the life of the born, I'm pro the life of the children that are in poverty, I'm pro the life of the criminal on death row, I'm pro the life of people we've never met overseas that may become the victims of bombs. I mean, I'm pro the life of people. I'm pro life. And um when that's an ideological narrative, but when we break it down and say in this one little box and it becomes this linchpin political issue, it's no longer purely an ideological narrative, it's a political one.
Okay.
And it's one that we're trying again to bring our whatever our standard is in a legislative way, opposed to doing what Jesus did with walking with people and listening to them and getting to know them and serving them and seeing a transformative experience happen from the inside out for them. And let me just jump from there when we just talk about legislation.
Yeah.
So some of our more conservative states here in the United States have very conservative state governments right now that are in power, and um, honestly are passing laws that it makes me cringe because they're protecting one very, very small subset of life at every other part of life is no longer valued. This is what the value standard is.
You
Everything
gave
else can
you
be,
gave me an example when we were off camera. Yeah,
yes,
one current. Well, it's just
currently in
yeah.
Alabama, and I don't have the statute pulled up right in front of me, but this is the broad brush, and I don't know if it's changed in the last couple of weeks. I do know it will probably be, if it hasn't already, there'll be law cases that go up through the court systems that are contesting it as being unconstitutional. But so Alabama is one of the most conservative states in
Mhm.
the United States, and they passed a law recently where it criminalized abortion in the sense that anybody who had an abortion, the woman, if she gets an abortion, she's a murderer. Doctor's a murderer. If the woman goes out of state and gets the abortion, she's a murderer back in the state. Like, it criminalizes it. And some of you may go, well, why is that a bad thing? Well, here's a case in point. Um, and I believe this is probably this, if it's not this specific situation, it'll be one like this that is
Okay.
used to
Yeah.
contest the law. But there was a young girl, 11 or 12-year-old, who was raped, the victim of incest, and she got pregnant. And she lives in Alabama and part of a minority community. And what are you going to do? Are you going to tell this little girl, this baby, that she can't make a medical decision that's based on her well-being, because that's
Mhm.
going to brand her a murderer, a felon for the rest of her life? And the doctor that serves her and makes a decision in the best interest of his patient,
Mhm.
that's going to brand him a murderer for the rest of his life, potentially. Uh, That's not justice. That's
Uh-huh.
politics. It's political theater, and it's wrong.
Yeah, for sure. So, I think it was the last video we did. You talked about the messy middle.
Yes.
So from a believer's point of view, right, somebody as a follower of Jesus, uh, whether you are actively involved in politics as a
Hmm.
representative, or you're involved in the sense of politics, how it affects life and society. Here we come, I guess. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but am I right in thinking you're saying legislation has to be done over certain issues, but when we get into, and I don't mean the abortion issue, but life issues, relational
Hmm.
issues, it really is a messy, messy world, and legislation will not solve it. It might be necessary to a point, but what about believers? How do
Hmm.
we view that? How do we get engaged from your perspective into the messy middle?
Um, I think we follow the example of Jesus, and the Pharisees were trying to solve all of the messy things by creating a whole subsystem of religious laws and religious structure to take the mess out of the middle. Like, we're not going to have a middle. There's not going to be any mess. Everyone's
Yeah.
going to know. And we know that that didn't work. And Jesus, when he came, he kind of blew apart that system.
Mhm.
He did everything that he messed up their middle
Yeah.
intentionally because he walked with and loved and prioritized people. And I believe with all my heart that's the answer. We live in a fallen world. We
Yep.
have broken humanity. We have a broken system. It's not going to get any better in terms of people issues and problems and brokenness and hurt and all the things that go on. Trying to whitewash it and make it all nice and neat politically for our comfort zone, um, it's only going to wind up hurting more people in many
Yep.
ways. And one caveat on that: when you live in a democratic or representative democracy, um, and you vote leaders in, the whole thought is that the people that are elected represent the majority of the points of view that are out there. However, um, no
Mhm.
system is perfect.
Sure.
There are a lot of there's just the more that I have read about districting policies and the way that different political parties in the United States try to get and maintain power, um, the political narrative, and things that are especially on the right, but the left have their own version as well, the echo chamber. Um, it's very, very hard to you have to be a good detective
Yeah.
and a good follow, like a intentional follower of Jesus, to go and be like, okay, I know this is part of the story, and I know this is part of the story, and I know that over there's part of the story, and they don't look like they go together at all, but I'm going to take all of
Uh-huh.
these with an open heart and an open mind, and I'm going to say, hey, Jesus, what does love look like in this situation?
Final question, a difficult one, not maybe difficult question, but how do we outwork it? How about a believer who is actively in politics,
Hmm.
an elected representative? How
Hmm.
should they approach this? Salute their ideology that the party puts out, or how would you see them doing that?
I think we are all beholden to walk in relationship with Jesus in every decision in our lives. So whether you are a business leader, you're a school teacher, you're an elected representative, we need to prayerfully be bringing things to his feet and acknowledging that the guidance that we may receive can be colored by
Mhm.
the worldviews that are around us, that we're not infallible. We don't hear perfectly from God. We're going to make mistakes. But again, I believe that we've got to prioritize people over political maneuvers. We just have to.
Yeah.
And anything that deprioritizes caring for people and walking in solidarity with the oppressed and seeking true justice and true reform. Um, yeah, and walking humbly with God, it's not for us.
Excellent. Hey, I could think of a book title, maybe Humanizing the Divine.
Oh,
How
oh,
about that?
really?
Well,
Maybe that's written. Maybe you should write that book. I think
you
you should
never
write that
know. Let's come back with another video. Thanks, Michelle.